It's finally time to analyse the penultimate song on Clancy, At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. Much like with the last few songs I've analysed, At the Risk continues this development in Clancy of more positive or hopeful messaging, and this time, the message we're given is not only straightforward, but it's yet again another shift from one of their usual messages. Before we start, I would like to give my usual disclaimer that this is my own interpretation of the song. I'm in no way saying it's the only or correct one, and highly encourage you to post your own interpretations in the comments. Secondly, this video will contain triggering content regarding mental health. Please click off the video if such content is distressing to you. You're not alone, there is help out there. Links to resources will be placed in the description below. Stay alive. We've had our fair share of obvious songs on Clancy, songs that are lyrically straightforward in contrast to the other complex or heavily metaphorical songs the pilots produce. Examples of this are Routines in the Night, The Craving, Navigating, and Next Semester. All talk about their themes and messages very openly. At the Risk falls into this category, arguably being one of the most straightforward and lyrically simpler songs on the album. This is probably the reason as to why the band didn't talk much about it in the pre-release livestream. At the Risk of Feeling Dumb is ultimately about checking in on our friends, even if they say they're okay, because chances are they're struggling. This idea of a friend struggling, particularly with suicidal ideation, is emphasized through a lot of linguistic and structural techniques. In the chorus, we know that these lyrics are spoken from the struggling friend's point of view, after the lyric in the first pre-chorus, even if they say. We have the use of drop by and the lyric see me at my lowest. The former means to visit someone, whilst lowest can refer to the informal phrase of being in a mentally bad place. The chorus translates to the friend actively telling others that they don't want anyone to visit them when they are at their lowest mentally, largely because they feel it will ruin everyone else's plans in having to make a detour to do so. They're struggling, but would rather do so alone and in silence. The repetition of drop further highlights this desperation to not bother anyone and suffer in silence. Not only that, but lowest can have a double meaning. The lowest anyone can physically get is when they're buried underneath the ground. This friend does not want anyone seeing them dead as they plan to commit suicide. As for structural techniques in the chorus, the lyrics "you don't have to drop, drop, drop" don't have to drop by a repetition. But this repetition isn't perfect. The ending of the second lyric is changed to drop by rather than followed on by more drops. In a way, this creates a receding effect, like the longer lyric is being erased and made smaller. This could not only show a relapse, a receding in the positive mental health, but it could also mimic the way that those who struggle with suicidal ideation withdraw, recede from others. The chorus also features quite a bit of enjambment, making the lyrics flow consistently. As this is the friend talking, this composed flow not only reinforces this notion of hiding their struggles and opting to struggle alone, the composed lyrics reflecting their put-together composure, but it also presents them as being quite resolved at not wanting to bother anyone, as this flow doesn't waver in any way to suggest uncertainty. Hell, even the lyrics of "nothing you can do this time" feel quite dismal, as if the friend has resigned themselves to committing suicide, and so they're telling the listener there is nothing we can do to persuade them as to otherwise, so we should just give up and continue on with our day. Lyrically, the first and second verses also explore this idea of struggling with suicidal ideation, even if briefly. The metaphor of trying to forget that we're in ejection seats means that they're trying to forget suicidal thoughts, as an ejection seat removes pilots from an aircraft when things get too tough to continue on, much like how the ejection seat in life is suicide. There's also the metaphor of sleeping so close to a weapon you conceal, which likens internal struggles to being akin to a weapon. This presents these struggles as dangerous, harmful, with the capacity to kill. And having this weapon close whilst they sleep, a period associated particularly with vulnerability, it implies these struggles and thoughts are constantly with them, even at their most vulnerable. Aside from this, there are two other techniques that feature within the lyrics to show that this friend is struggling. The heavy dirty soul metaphor of vehicles representing the cycle of mental health makes a reappearance with the mention of Kawasaki, a motorbike, ride, and fighter jets, which all reinforce the idea that this song is about mental health and the trials and tribulations during it. The song also uses backing vocals, drop me, drop me, drop, in the second to last pre-chorus, revealing the truth that the friend wants others to drop them and let them go so they can stop being a bother to them. The backing vocals contain a leitmotif that you're probably all familiar with. It's the low voice that signifies the presence of blurry face. Not only does the presence of blurry face already reveal that the friend is struggling, but the backing vocals state, "I don't want anyone, know me or not, to even try to stop me." The friend fundamentally does not want anyone trying to stop them from committing suicide, hence why they're telling their friends nothing can be done and to keep their plans and not drop by. Tyler then asks us, the listener, to check in on them. Aside from the obvious statements in the pre-chorus, there are also a few structural techniques. For example, there is a conversational structure to the lyrics with the use of first and second person pronouns, which ultimately makes the lyrics seem like a direct address to us. The usage of colloquialisms throughout the song also achieves this, as the informal language not only makes this seem like an open and honest conversation, but also one between people who know each other. Finally, the usage of plosives, harsh sounds, reflects the serious and harsh nature of the topic discussed, preventing the topic from being sugar-coated so it can be openly engaged with by the listener. Now, it would be easy to just stop there. At the Risk is fundamentally an anti-suicide song, asking us to check in on friends struggling with suicidal ideation. It is what it says on the tin. However, the lyrics don't just stop there. It tells us the reason why we need to check in on our friends. And that reason is because ignorance kills. The most obvious way this message is explored is when there is ignorance towards others' struggles. As aforementioned, the song is full of backing vocals and double meanings. These methods, in essence, make it a requirement to look deeper into the lyrics rather than just skim over the surface to fully understand the song. However, if you just look over the lyrics on a surface level, you tend to miss the extent of how much the friend is struggling, which results in more harm to them. The title of the song, At the Risk of Feeling Dumb, also plays on this idea. The worst thing that can come from checking in on a friend you believe is struggling is feeling dumb. That is the only risk. That is far better than risking losing a friend to suicide because you fear being seen as dumb. The use of the adjective dumb is a little crass or abrasive. The lyrics aren't sugarcoating the seriousness of the topic and act almost a little accusatory to those who prioritize their ego, not feeling dumb, over the loss of a friend. By using such bold and abrasive vocabulary, it criticizes those who ignore others' struggles when they prioritize themselves. There's also the lyric of matching Kawasaki Z's. As mentioned earlier, Kawasaki is a motorbike company, and their Kawasaki Z logo consists of two Z's. These two Z's, funnily enough, look like a dangerous bend symbol. For those who don't know, the lyrics of Overcompensate talk about ignoring the dangerous bend symbol, a symbol used on the road to warn of rough or dangerous terrain ahead. Furthermore, the dangerous bend symbol was also used by the Bourbaki group, the group the bishops are based on, in their mathematical work to warn of particularly difficult passages of text ahead that came with the risk of misinterpreting it and missing the reality of the argument. The presence of the dangerous bend symbol alongside a reference to the lyrics of Overcompensate emphasizes this idea of ignoring struggles, misinterpreting your friend and missing the reality of how much they're struggling, which will only inevitably lead to their death. The second way the message of ignorance being able to kill is explored is in situations where those who are struggling are ignorant towards their own struggles. The fighter jets used to describe the friend and Tyler, or the listener in the verse metaphorically, represents this idea, as fighter jets are used to exterminate threats. They only solve external issues and problems, unable to deal with the internal ones within the jet itself. Not only that, but fighter jets are weapons first and foremost, highlighting how this approach of only focusing on the external rather than internal issues is problematic and dangerous. Similarly, as already discussed, the allusion to the dangerous bend symbol through Kawasaki's Z's can also refer to ignoring one's own struggles, the rough path ahead. Speaking of references, the second verse features a reference to routines in the night, with those night terrors are not something to take lightly. Routines in the night is about trying to avoid internal struggles that culminate as night terrors through insomnia. But as we established in the analysis of that song, that isn't a healthy coping mechanism. Taking these night terrors lightly means to downplay or ignore their severity and impact, but we know from past Clancy songs that doing so isn't helpful. The lyrics of At the Risk also put forward an idea seen in many of the Pilots' previous songs. More notably, it was seen in the Vessel song Screen. At the Risk suggests that we are all broken people. We all know and fight this battle, and so we aren't alone. For example, the first verse repeats this idea of matching Kawasaki's Z's, matching energy. These struggles and the tendency of ignoring them are something both parties struggle with. They match this energy perfectly. In the chorus, the word drop also has a double meaning too, as it can allude to the informal phrase of drop dead. This lyric then translates to the friend that is struggling not wanting the other to die by suicide, not wanting to make their struggles worse by sharing their own. And whilst this doesn't really fit in any of the categories I've already talked about, the repetition of stopping me, fight me is probably one of my favourite lyrics in the entire song, because this call and response is Tyler asking the friend to fight him after he reveals his concern. He's trying to ignite a passionate response in them, trying to get a reaction that signifies life and motivation, which is very akin to his messages about staying alive for the things you're passionate about, for the things you create and only you understand. It's just a nice touch. In a way, this song feels like it's Tyler asking us to take on his role. Many former songs are about Tyler asking us to stay alive for him, checking in on us. At the Risk is Tyler asking us to become that for someone else, because ignorance kills, and because it's important for us and others to know we aren't alone in our fight. We've all been in these situations, and so we know how to help each other out. There is strength in solidarity. The music video for At the Risk is, in my opinion, probably one of the most confusing. It feels like a very classic mainstream MTV music video of the artist doing something completely unrelated from the lyrics. The whole premise of the music video is the pilots playing in completely different places, but the height of these places grow immeasurably. From a hay bale, to a roof, to a train bridge, to a skyscraper. You can imagine my expression when I realised halfway through the music video that I had essentially been high-hoped. In a way, this progression of height mimics the increase in the risk of losing a friend to suicide the longer these struggles are ignored and allowed to continue for. The shots switch between Tyler jumping and then laying on the floor, almost despondent, as if to mimic someone committing suicide by jumping and failing during the smaller attempts. The smaller heights don't necessarily pose much harm, but the larger ones do. Another detail I just wanted to point out is the nature imagery in this music video. I established in Oldie Station that a lot of music videos this era focus on wintry imagery, which signifies the end of a cycle and the possibility of starting anew. Here we have more greenery, lush fields and sunny weather, which could signify spring. Spring symbolically symbolizes actually beginning to start fresh and starting over. It's a new beginning. In a way, this could further this commentary on how important it is to check on your friend, as it can facilitate a fresher and healthier start for them. And that's it for the analysis on At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. This is probably one of the more shorter analyses on Clancy, but I think that's because this song wraps up very succinctly what it wishes to talk about. And I understand why. If you want an anti-suicide song, it has to be straightforward in its message. You can't really beat around the bush with what you're trying to say. But I'm gonna be honest, I think this was probably one of my favorite songs on Clancy to script for, which is insane, because there have been some fun songs, but I think there's a difference between a song being fun to analyze and a song being fun to script. And because this one was so succinct and so almost like clean and neat in what it wished to discuss, it made something in my brain. It kicked, the dopamine kicked in writing this one, okay? That's the only way I could describe it. Brain chemicals go brrr. Now, you may have seen on my community posts or my Blue Sky that I'm not planning on jumping into the Paladin Straits analysis straight away. The reason for that is because I'm actually going to be working on a video about Dema's punishment system first, because I believe that's important to get out there in order for people to understand some of the stuff that happens in Paladin Straits. So on one hand, a video compiling all of this information is going to be useful because it will assist people in their understanding of the events of the Paladin Strait music video, and also for anyone that is just out of the loop and asks where did you get that interpretational information from, I can direct them to that video. But on the other hand, for all the resident dystopia enthusiasts and, you know, lore nerds and people who are generally really interested about the intersection with that, as well as sociology and lore, it's just a nice little video to look at the world building of Dema, you know, how Dema functions as a dystopia. It's just a fun little thing to watch. So yeah, stay tuned for that, because I'm working on the script for that at the same time I'm working on the editing for At the Risk of Feeling Done. I want this out the week after I've done the At the Risk of Feeling Done video. I want it all cleanly out so that I can focus all of my efforts into making the best Paladin Strait analysis possible. Anyway, this was a bit of a long conclusion and ramble. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching Top Debate!